Hi, it's Dr. Parikh, and now we are on to the reference list. So I wanted to draw your attention to something I probably should have shown you for the title page. But here on the weekly to-do list, I have a lot of resources, and APA Style has put together some really nice sort of shorthand things. One thing I want to point out, the APA Style blog, so you used to have to either buy the manual or go to the library to get to it, but now APA has made almost all of it available online in a pretty well organized and searchable fashion. So paper format, you can get a lot of information, including things like what order everything goes in. And many of these are hyperlinked, like if you click references, it takes you to the section where it talks about references. You can also get sample papers. And keep in mind, again, there's a different title page for student papers. Specifically for the reference list, there's a couple really handy things that are designed to be little checklists. You could print it out and use it. You could even laminate it. This one, you can just kind of look through and cross things off as you go. There's one specifically journal articles, and most of you will only use journal articles for this section. These are just PDFs. You can download them and save them like any PDF. You can print them out if you want, and if you want to use them over and over, you could even laminate them. If I were going to print this, I might print it two to a page just so I could see everything on one page instead of a front and back. But it's nice to have, and if you're here in the PDF, you can see there's also hyperlinks to helpful things. At the bottom, they give you a couple examples of journal article references. And so what I've done, our library, I at least checked the first two. I don't know about the last one, but I grabbed the first two from our library. And I would work here in this template. I would just go to the references and I would keep them for a little bit, make sure you actually take them out before you submit it. But I would use this as a bit of a guide to help me know how to do things. So first I'm going to show you how I would format these references, and you can find lots of places to auto format for you. They almost always get things wrong, so if you would like to keep all your points, please, I recommend at a minimum checking them carefully, but honestly, often I find that fixing them is more work than just doing them correctly from the start. So I'm going to be juggling a couple different things, and I will try to do so on my screen. Can I make this not show up? Yes, I can. That's exciting. All right, so first up is authors. It's important that you keep the order the same because this represents typically how much work each person put into the project. You do their last name, comma, and then initials. You don't put anything full except for their last name. In this case, it's a little confusing because we don't know if Stoltzfus is considered a middle name or if this is all one last name. I will tell you how I typically try to check this out is I look to see people often cite themselves. So the first place I look is I just see if they have cited themselves. The next thing I do if I'm not sure is I might try, Googling that person. So here it looks like there's something where I'm finding all sorts of just absolute random things right now. All right, so I'm going to just look for, okay, so when this person cites themselves, they just use Grady and use Stoltzfus as a middle name. So here I would do Grady JS. So you do, let me zoom in on what I'm writing so that you can see the details. So you do last name, comma, initials, her, M, Moreno, G. And then you do an ampersand before the last one. and then you put the year in parentheses. I found the year right up here. Usually everything you need to cite an article is on the first page. Sometimes it can be tricky to find things, but usually that's the case. Okay, so now I'm going to zoom out again because now I need, so if we look back here, so first we do the authors, then we do the year, and just the year for a journal article, even if it tells us anything else about when it was published. Article title, so you capitalize only the first word of the title, the first word after like this colon, and any proper nouns. And then just put a period at the end. So here we would go emotions in storybooks. And again, I could copy and paste it, but in the article itself, you always capitalize everything. And so I usually find it easier just to rewrite it than to go through and fix everything. Comparison of storybooks that represent ethnic and racial groups in the, and United States is a proper noun, so it gets capitalized. So if we come back to that one, so we've got article title, next up is journal name, which here is Psychology of Popular Media Culture. Sometimes people pick the wrong thing for their journal name. Sometimes they'll pick like American Psychological Association or Springer. As you get more familiar with different publishers and publishing companies, it'll be easier to recognize what the actual title is. So the journal title gets, which is kind of like the magazine article versus the magazine. So here the journal is the Psychology of Popular Media Culture and the journal article is Emotions in Storybooks. So the journal title gets all important words capitalized just like any title and italicized, and that helps set it apart from the article. We do so every journal should have a volume number. Most of them will have an issue number. So volume 8, number 3. So volume is still italicized, and then we turn off our italics for the parentheses, and we put the issue number in with a comma. And then we do the page numbers. Last up is, I'm surprised they have it in this format, the DOI. So there used to be multiple ways to do DOIs. Now they have pushed just for the link style, and whoa, something weird just happened. That's called formatting. So when we copy and paste, we bring along some nasty formatting. One easy way that I remove formatting is I paste it, Control or Command V, into the address bar, and then copy it again. I'm doing this on New Year's because that's how exciting my life is, which is why it says Google 2021. Now when we paste it, there's no formatting, which is nice. Now an older style of the DOIs did DX, but that's not, they've cut out everything unnecessary now. The whole purpose of the DOI is to be short and sweet. So I'll remove that before I make the link. When you space, it automatically makes a hyperlink, and you know you've done it correctly if it actually links to the article. Woohoo! One cool thing, this is from APA PsychNet. That means that this is, as we can see the American Psych Association over here. This is a journal published by APA, the same APA that sets the journal standards. And this is the one place that I have found to be reliable for getting references. But when you just copy and paste, you can still end up with some formatting issues. So let's say I just copied it and I paste it, and it's not too bad formatting wise. I could just, I'm going to grab Times New Roman 12-point font. So if you happen to see that something's by APA and you go to APA and you pull something up in PsychNet, you can usually trust that it's going to be correct. It's the only one I haven't found mistakes in. any other auto generator usually makes some kind of mistakes. This has kind of a weird format for that, and it doesn't want to become a hyper... Oh, I guess that's how it's a hyperlink. So in this case, I'm actually going to remove the link and then add it back in so that it looks the same as my other links, because having things look similar is always kind of important. Another thing I'll mention, here the DOI happens to be down on the next line, but let's imagine that the title was a little shorter. If it does fit on that same line, leave it there. Okay, I'm going to do one more article as a quick guide, and I also I just want to show evidence that you actually can just kind of format it yourself. I mean, obviously I have a lot more experience and so it goes faster, but you can do it. For this one, I think I'm actually going to show you yes, I will show you. So another way that we can find things is to go to crossref.org. And this is really helpful, especially if you can't find a DOI number. You want to make sure you click, so there's search site and then there's search metadata. I have no idea what the actual site does. I always search metadata. And if you can't find it on the first, I would say 2 pages of here, usually the first page. Occasionally it's not the top link, but you should be able to find it pretty close. So if you can't find it fairly quickly on here within the first page, maybe 2 pages, then it probably doesn't have a DOI. And in that case, you just Google for it and try to find the original journal page and link to that. All right, so one of the nice things about Plus One, also if you have, let's say your title page has a bunch of like credentials and just letters after people's names, sometimes, especially if you're not familiar with that, it can get difficult to even see what the names are. This lists an editor. I don't think you need that anywhere. Oh, it's interesting. They're specifically saying everybody contributed to the work. I'm curious how they ordered it then, because sometimes you'll see it ordered alphabetically because they want to say, like, look, everybody contributed to this. But anyway, so we would start with Jan Trip A. Occasionally in older things, you'll see a ... and ellipses in the middle of the author's names. It used to be that if there were more than 7 authors, I think it was, I always had to look up the rule, that you had to leave some of them out, but now you include everybody up to 20. And that's extremely rare in psych to get that many. All right. Teaching medicine with the help of Dr. House. Now, here is Plus One is the journal title. Volume 13, I turn off my italics, issue 3. Now here, they do a weird page. Weird is a judgy word. They do a different style of page numbering because they are an electronic-only journal. And so they have, whereas down here, for example, you see pages 32 to 33. They're just digital. They don't bother ever formatting it like a print journal. So I could do so if I just do paste, it's a weird format. In Google Docs, I can do Command-Shift-V, and it will take out the formatting automatically. So instead of copying and pasting into the bar, I can just use Command or Control-Shift-V. I think it works in Word too. I was having not much luck, but I was also working in a different, like a weird file format. So here we want to copy. I just want to copy it directly. And again, I'm going to use Command-Shift or Control-Shift to do it I see there's going to be a double space here. And then I like to put a link in. I don't know if that's formal style. And then I always like to double check and make sure that the links are working. And I think there are more journals going to this online only format with a page identifier rather than a typical page number range. If you ever see that you're putting page one in for something, let me see what this is. Because this says it's a page 1. So this might actually be on a page 1 because it looks like it's just kind of an informal thing. But anytime you see page 1, the danger is that you will have that it's actually an E page and you're just looking at the numbers on the PDF. Because if we actually go here, yeah, just let me have my stuff. So if we actually look at the PDF, we see, okay, page 1 out of 11. But that's not the actual page number they use. For these, I'll show you where to find things. So we've got our title, our authors. You want the published date, 2018. And actually, this is not quite APA style, but it does have all the information you need. You just have, except it doesn't list all the authors. Never just do at all. Again, don't trust most formatting, but it will tell you the e-page here, and it'll tell you the volume, issue number. Technically, they don't capitalize the O, so if I want to be really precise, I can do that. So that's how you format two very different types of articles. I'll do real quick. Let's imagine that we couldn't find a DOI for this article, although we totally can. We would want to Google for it and then use what seems to be the journal's page. So here you can see it's giving us an opportunity to get access, so we could pay for things. Please, please, please never pay for an article while you are in college. The library will always help you get articles. And you can check with a librarian. You can reach out to me and I can point you in the right direction for what to do. You can also ask a librarian for help and they can walk you through it. If you need to request, so my first step is always just to, if I know what article I'm looking for, I just search for it there in Summon. But you can also do interlibrary loan, and if you're not sure, you can ask. It's Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve, so they're not there. But if it's during the semester, they are there quite a bit. Let's see. So you're going to keep adding to this as you go. One more case that I want to tell you is sometimes something is online, but it doesn't have, so it's never going to happen with a +1 because they just publish it online. But something like this could be published online, but not be in the print journal yet. So you would have that information, and then you would say advance online publication. And I'm going to double check that because I always forget the exact wordings. You can see I search this a lot. See, and I always like to go for APA style. This one is a little old. I'm just going to go with a library. It's a university library. It should be fine. Yeah, you just do a period and then advance online publication. Right. One thing I want you to take from this is that it's always, your goal isn't to magically stop needing to look things up. It's about being aware of all the things you do need to look up and having resources for what to do when that happens. All right, the last thing I'm going to do, if you've gotten what you've needed, head out, as always with the videos. The last thing I'm going to do is show you how to put formatting in on a new paper. Let's say your formatting gets all jacked up, or you just want to format it yourself. I always recommend, instead of using enter, 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 hitting a page break. I usually do command enter, but I like to show you how to do it through the menus as well. I will just make this a little bigger. So here at the top of the page, in bold and centered, you're going to write references. And as a reminder, instead of trying to tab over to center things, just go center a line. And now I don't want to be, it automatically pops it over, or no, it was centered still. So now I put it over. You never want to use justified, but especially not here. And then you don't put any extra spacing in between things. You make sure everything is just double spaced. And then you want to do a hanging indent. So one way is to just drag things with the ruler. So you want the top line to be over at the left and the next line to be 1/2 inch in without having, so if you're hitting enter within a single reference to fix things, you are working too hard. It is much easier just to adjust the heading a little bit. Another thing you can do is come through format, and you can do indentation options, and you want to do a special indent, a hanging indent, 1/2 inch. And if you're working in another program like Word or Pages, just Google. There's all kinds of tutorials for this thing, for this stuff. Everybody struggles with this. I'm going to copy and paste, and what I'm going to take the formatting out as I do that. So I just did the cheat copy and paste. So now everything is still bold. That's awesome. But I'm going to find where things are. So this is also going to be a quick review of, all right, so I'm checking that I have periods after all my initials, that the spacing is right, that the capitalization is right. Oh, I deleted some things and forgot to put them back in. Ethnic and racial groups. All right, so this gets italicized, and I know this is actually I think it's H3, 207 to 217. And then my DOI just happens to be on the next line. That's fine. It's not required. So again, oh, I italicized too much. All right. All right. So that is how you would format. You're going to keep adding. Make sure at the end of your paper that you have at least 6 sources here and that you use all of them at least once in your paper. It's fine to have more than 6, although 6 is a lot. And it's fine that most of them you'll probably just cite once, maybe twice. Let's see. So make sure that this is always something you should double check at the end. I like to print out a copy to do this. I do most things on the screen, but I like to print a copy and go through and just first highlight all the citations and then match each of the citations to a reference and make like a little mark when I find that it is cited there, and that way I can check to make sure everything that's cited is in the reference list. And then after I've checked all my citations, I go through the reference list and make sure everything got ticked off at least once, and if it didn't, I take it out. And if that brings me below the number of sources I need, well, then I figure out what to do next. And that should be what you need to know to do the reference list. Take care. Bye-bye.